Hickenlooper there, arriving for his final State of the State address, in which he talked about his love of Colorado and the people who serve it. We begin with the governor's State of the State this noon. I'm Alan Janae. We're covering Colorado first right now. In his speech, Governor Hickenlooper highlighted the state's economy, saying it's 10 times more diverse than it was when he was laid off from his job as a geologist back in 1986. He says during his 7 years as governor, he has worked to improve unemployment and job growth by working together with others. For this year, he outlined a to-do list that includes capping orphan wells like the one that caused the deadly explosion in Firestone, tackling the opioid epidemic, and funding K-12 education as well as infrastructure. Governor took time to look back, saying the economy was in disarray when he took office, and he talked about creating a blueprint for the economy.
We cut red tape. We promoted the state not just to tourists, but as a pro-business destination for aspiring entrepreneurs. We championed innovation and technology and made it easier for small businesses to get a loan. The Colorado Blueprint made it easier for people to create and grow their own businesses and helped make Colorado a place that loves entrepreneurs. By almost any measure, we've become one of the best places for business in America.
The governor says more needs to be done, though, to improve the economy in rural areas of the state.
Announced a $10 million rural venture fund to focus equity investment and access to capital in the rural parts of the state, similar to what we've been doing for years along the Front Range. Startup Colorado is a 5-year initiative to organize and convene startups around the state.
Now, we're going to talk with the governor in just a few moments. Let's go to our political specialist, Sean Boyd. She's on the floor of the House right now. And so you're talking with Republicans, and I'm curious about their reaction today, Sean.
Yeah, Alan, you know, in typical Hickenlooper style, he talked a lot about bipartisanship, saying let's not wage war between the blue team and the red team. We are a collaborative Colorado. But he also brought up a lot of ideas that Republicans have made clear they don't agree with. Joining me now is the Republican president of the Senate, Kevin Grantham. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sean.
So the governor said it's time to go to voters, both on education and transportation. Are Republicans open to asking voters for a tax increase on either of these or both of them?
Well, at least when it comes to education, I think we've already got the answer on that. It's been asked and answered twice. And the people of the state of Colorado have said no. And this is not something that happened in the far distant past. This is all pretty recent. When it comes to transportation, we still have to ask ourselves a question. When we asked the Senate and the House last year to potentially send it to the voters, we were kind of in a limbo. We didn't know if we were going to have money on the state level, and extra money, so to speak. This year we do know. And we actually do have the funds to actually do it without going to a vote of the people and use revenues that are already existing. So I think from our standpoint, education, it's asked and answered. Transportation, we have the money.
The governor was very specific on what he felt was needed on affordable housing. He said that we need to increase the affordable housing tax credits 50%. You agree?
Well, what I say is, you know, we did a lot of good work last year on construction litigation reform. I think that will take us miles down the road of getting back to affordable and attainable housing. Further government subsidization is there's a fun word to try to say. Government subsidies just is not the answer to create more housing. We're always willing to look at the governor's proposals on such things when he wants to take the lead. But to be perfectly honest, we're going to have to take a good hard look at that. And is that the way that we spend all of Coloradans' tax dollars in order to subsidize housing in a few places? So if we're going to look at prioritization of Colorado taxpayer dollars, roads, roads, roads.
All right, 119 days. 119. We'll see. Thank you so much. Coming up at 5 and 6, Alan, you're going to hear what the governor had to say about pot, energy, and health care. We'll toss it back to you.
All right, Sean, thank you very much. Let's find out more right now. Governor Hickenlooper is back in his office. He joins us now live. Governor, thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
I guess the question is, the big one is, you know, your final year, your major goal, Senator Grantham just talked about roads, but you have a bunch of priorities. Tell us about them.
Well, I think we have to invest in we obviously need to invest in roads. I've been saying that for 7 years. It was in my first State of the State speech. But we also have to invest in broadband, make sure that every rural community has it. We've got to invest in water. I mean, part of the reason people are attracted to Colorado is our Western heritage and this, strong agricultural community. We are one of the national leaders in exporting agricultural products from our state, and we want to protect that. So we need to make sure we fund the water plan. If we're going to really continue to grow as a state, we've got to do it responsibly and not strangle on congestion and have too many people. Let's make sure we invest in our future.
In your final year in office, it might be a time to think about some very long-term projects, and you seem to be referring to some of them, water and rural. You're talking about this initiative for rural Colorado. How do you fire up rural Colorado when the focus of so much of business development is in big projects and in high tech?
Well, it's funny, and a lot of businesses can grow very rapidly. Noosa Yogurt, which we talked about in the speech, they just started 7 years ago, and they now have 240 employees up in Bellevue, Colorado. That's almost up in Wyoming. And they're in 50 states. They're $200 million a year. And that was a rural entrepreneur, fourth generation. Rob Graves is a fourth generation dairy farmer. And this was his entrepreneurship. So what we have to do is take that natural entrepreneurship that's already in rural Colorado. And you're right, lots of people want to be in big cities. It's hard for employees in rural parts of the state for their spouse to find a good job. But long term, if we want to have a strong agricultural community, and I think we do, I think it's essential to the long-term future of the state, we've got to not just protect water, but we've also got to try and find ways to seed more businesses and get more jobs in the rural part of the state. And it's hard, but it's doable. And I think we've had some success. I think we just need to ratchet up the incentives just a little bit more. It's a remarkably inexpensive cost overall.
We've had accusations of sexual misconduct at the Capitol over the past few months. And what do you think needs to happen in the workplace?
Well, I think, and that whole speech that I made this morning was almost completely about love of place and about how lucky Colorado is that so many people love it. And it's not just luck. You can't love a place if you don't feel safe, and especially where you're working. And if you feel that you're not going to get a raise or a promotion, if you don't, let some guy or let some person, let some idiot, throw their, or push you in ways you don't feel comfortable. So that was a part of that statement. I think the whole country's going through this. We're really reestablishing in bright clarity what is acceptable and what is not. And I think there are going to be much higher penalties to pay now than there ever have been before.
In politics, you talked about finding places of convergence. And in your 15 years in the mayor's office and in the governor's office, what's happening to politics? What's wrong with us?
Well, I think that too often we are just going into our own corner and talking to those who agree with us. And I think we've got to, step up and say, the future is now. And this was a nice luxury, but right now, look around the world. Look what's going on in the world. We need to come together as a country. We need to start agreeing that, well, I don't like this part, but I can compromise on it a little bit. Let's get this challenge done. And let's start listening a little more aggressively to what the other side is saying. And even if we don't agree with all of it, find the parts where we do agree and then build from there. I look in business. Success is all about the alignment of self-interest. It's people coming together and saying they're going to compromise, and then all of a sudden you get a transaction. Government's the same way. We just have to do a better job of, it's got to be all my way or I'm not going to do anything. That's not certain. It's only in the last 15 or 20 years that's become the mainstay of our approach, and it's not helping us.
Governor Hickenlooper, thanks very much.